Welcome to Coffee Conversations.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for this conversation today because I am an English creative writing major myself, and
Oh, how wonderful.
I've touched up a little bit about your background and stuff, and it all seems like super interesting stuff. So I'm excited to get to chat with you today.
So how are you doing, by the way? How are you coping in this unprecedented time that we find ourselves in?
Yeah, I'm actually doing pretty well. I think
Yeah.
it was a nice break that I was able to take, and like I'm just trying to keep it on the positive side because if not,
Good.
I'll drive myself crazy. And how about you?
Same. I have to be honest with you that let me just backtrack for a minute. Okay. I
Yeah.
know you did some research, but I should just say that I'm the Kenyan Review Fellow in Prose at Kenyan College with the Kenyan Review. And basically it's one of those fellowships. There are only 10 of its kind like in the country, or actually there are maybe only 20 of its kind in the world, that gives you a lot of time to write.
Yes.
And then you teach a class and you do a lot of editorial work, a lot or as little as you want. And at the time, what had happened is that we were just breaking for spring break. And then I don't know if you know about the AWP conference, which is the Associate Writers Program Conference, which is the biggest conference for writers in this country. In fact, people fly in from all over the world for it. Was also meant to be taking place, did take place from this, I think from the 5th to the 9th, or like from the 7th to something, 11th or something like that. So we were breaking for spring break, and I went off to the conference, although a lot of people chose not to because the pandemic was just beginning to burgeon. And my husband's a scientist, my brother's a doctor, so I had chatted with them and they were like, oh, like this is serious, but if you're careful and you don't like sort of spread, they were more worried about public opinion being spread and like worry about that. They were, as long as you don't add to that, you should be fine. Anyways, I came back and I had also gotten, and I was about to, and I should also point out, like, I'm in a long distance marriage. So my husband is in the Boston area, whereas I'm in Ohio. So for spring break, I came to Boston and I underpacked. I'm usually a big packer. Okay. Like I overpack everything, but like I sort of underpacked. I came here, and then after that, I was supposed to go off to this residency in Wyoming. And residencies are wonderful things. And hopefully, if you continue to write, you'll apply for one of these and you'll get it. Anyways, so I get here, the pandemic is now blown out, right? And I call UCross, the place that I'm supposed to go. They're like, because they're isolated, they're like, we're fine. We think we're going to do this anyways. So I get on a plane, like I spend some time with my husband, I get on a plane, and when I'm in the air, I find out they've decided to close their doors. So I know it's in Wyoming. So I land in Denver. My brother's in Denver. I meet him for one night. I get on a plane and I come right back. Anyways, they're going to reimburse everything. And I get to still do the residency at the end of the year.
Oh, okay. At least
Yeah, I still get to do it. And, I had won an award and that award still stands. But the only thing is, like, when I was going there, like, places change their mind all the time. And I understand that. Like, nobody knew what was going on, like,
Right.
and I realized, oh, right. So now I am here, which was actually, I was quite happy because at least I was living with my husband. I wouldn't be alone in Ohio. And actually, Kenyan is in a tiny village. If you looked up Gambia, which is where it is, a lot of people think it's a country in Africa, first of all, which is ridiculous. But the second thing is that it's actually a village. They actually call it a village. Anyways, I think in the beginning, I know it's nuts. In the beginning, when I was waking up, I was feeling disoriented because I was not meant to be at Kenyan. I was also not meant to be in Boston. I was meant to be elsewhere. And I quickly realized, at least for me, what worked, and this is weird because I'm a disorganized person generally, was a structure.
Right.
Like that I had to do some things. I had to hit some notes throughout the day so that by the evening I would be not quite, like, not terrified or not panicked or just feeling like I'm doing something worthwhile. And also, I have to be honest, like, I started putting on makeup. Like, I don't usually, on the everyday basis, I don't put on lipstick.
Well, you look very pretty.
Thanks, but lipstick. But it is like I've zoomed into meetings and people have been like, "Wow, you've got lipstick on." Like, everyone's in their sweats or like whatever, and I'm like, "Yep, if I don't put this lipstick on, I'm gonna feel shitty."
I am
I'm
the
not a
polar
lipstick
opposite.
person.
I've been lounging in sweats for about 4 weeks now, so not my proudest.
No, but like, if that makes you feel better, that's the most important thing. If I can say something, like, if I could inspire you in any way, do what makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Do what keeps your mental health in check. Do what, like, emotionally supports you.
How did you start your first novel, and then how did you get to your second? Like, I want to know all about it.
This is interesting because I have to be honest, like, I for a long time said I didn't want to be a writer, like, or I I didn't have the courage to say it, because I'm from India, and like in India now, I think a lot more people say like, I want to write. But when I know 10 years ago, I wasn't saying that I wanted to write. So I went and got a journalism degree, and then went off and got a master's in political and political and economic rights, and then worked for the National Human Rights Commission, worked for the United Nations, did projects and that stuff. And it's
Wow.
only when I was like totally exhausted, like when I felt like I could not do my job for one more minute, that I was like, "Ugh, that's because I want to be a writer."
Wow.
And then I began to write, and I wrote very badly. In fact, it took me 3 tries to get into an MFA program. The third year I applied, I was also beginning to like get to the end of my tether. Like my job was a really hard, like it was, I had been an independent consultant for the Ministry of Women and Child in India and the UNICEF, and it had been a wonderful job, but also I had seen a lot of stuff in my job that I still don't talk about. And I was beginning to get nightmares, and like a lot of people outside thought I had like this great job, which of course it was, but there's a lot of politics and corruption. And for a long time, I really believed that it wasn't facts, but stories that changed the world. It ended up being that once I recognized that, and I became passionate about the story that I was trying to tell. So anyways, I wrote the story. Again, it was structurally problematic, but the great thing about MFA programs is they're often looking to see if you have talent. If I can tell you one thing, you have to believe in yourself, because no one else will. No one else will put in the time or money in you unless you believe in yourself.
That's wonderful advice. And I'm going to have to ask for your reading list in a follow-up email.
Yeah, just
Your
send it to me.
favorite
I'll
book.
send you a bunch of stuff. Like I read everything
Yeah.
from like Harry Potter to like space odysseys to like serious stuff. Like I'll read anything. And I'll also read crappy books, just because I'm kind of like, this is
Oh,
crap.
yeah,
Like,
for
you know,
sure.
like,
Fair
but
share of
also like,
crafty
ooh,
books.
yeah, you love that. So you said you write mostly poetry right now, but were you like, did you write fiction and nonfiction before, or did you write just fiction before, or what was
Right.
your thing?
So actually, it'll be interesting to hear about hopefully some advice. I have been a writer my whole life. It's the only thing I've known. So that's how I've kind of pigeonholed myself into creative writing. And I thought I wanted to write screenplays, and I'm a huge fanatic of movies. Absolutely my favorite. And then I get to my first year of FSU and it just goes down the drain. I'm discouraged. I take a film class, but then there's so many people that, just like you said, like you have to believe in yourself and you can't be comparing yourself to people, but it's so hard when people are already specialized, trained, they know what they're doing, and you're like, oh no, like it was
You know
just,
what? Can I tell you? This is good what you just said to me. First of all, I wrote a screenplay a long time ago that I sold to Fox Searchlight Pictures. This is like it's a shitty screenplay. It was sold in India and then probably never going to make it. It was a treatment for the screenplay that I wrote. Like it was crap. Why I'm telling you this is this. When I got to my MFA program, I was the oldest person in my program, and I had never, I didn't have a bachelor's in English, or I'd done anything in creative writing. I couldn't tell you what round of flat characters were, what third person point of view was, or like any of that. But you know, I stood outside the door and I told myself, I'm going to be the best when I finish. And I'll tell you another thing. The only people who succeed, it's not the people who are the most talented or who know all the terms. It's the people who finish.
well, thank you so much. I highly enjoyed this conversation from start to finish.
Thank you so much for chatting. I'm so glad.
Yes, it was
I
lovely
love
meeting
Adrian.
you.